Hey everybody, welcome back to The Perfect Portfolio, and today we're going to talk about my favorite topic, which is building passive income and, more importantly, building tax-free income streams, because the traditional advice of put money in a retirement account to save money in taxes is just poor advice. And it just shows that the CPAs and financial advisors out there don't really understand legal tax avoidance. So we teach this in The Perfect Portfolio. The chapters in Top 10 Ways to Avoid Taxes talk about how to legally avoid taxes in real estate, so you can get the basics in my book. But today we're going to talk about tax codes that most people are not familiar with, and some tax codes which are even better in 2023 than they are in 2024. But we want to cover, I wanted to make this video just to kind of show you what me and Stella have done to buy some real estate in 2023, and how that can actually help us legally avoid taxes for even 2024, 2025, and even 2026. We obviously teach these strategies in The Perfect Portfolio, and I just wanted to make this video to tell you guys how we found this property, what we considered before we purchased the property, and more importantly, the tax codes that we're going to use to legally not pay taxes on a lot of our income from this property. So first of all, this is a property we looked at more than 100 different properties. We have a friend in Tennessee that's a real estate agent, and she's an investor, so she was able to check out some of these properties before we pulled the trigger on this property. But I want to cover some of the factors that we considered before we purchased the property, which some actually affect the tax codes you can use when you buy the property. But the first thing we wanted to look for is we wanted to find a property that we could live in one unit and then rent another, right? So we ended up purchasing a 6-bedroom, 3-bath house in Tennessee, nice neighborhood in Tennessee, and $400,000, which is crazy because we're from California, where it's not only crazy taxes but real estate prices. So this is a great find as a real estate investor, and which we're very much moving into acquiring real estate, just because we are very concerned about the value of real estate going up in the future. Of course, the government's going to be printing trillions of dollars again this year. And of course, if they put interest rates down, that could actually push real estate values up. So we wanted to scoop up some real estate, and we're probably going to purchase 2 or 3 properties this year. And we wanted to just cover the factors that we look at before we purchase it. So one thing we wanted to check with this property before we pulled the trigger, we wanted to make sure we could rent it on short term, like Airbnb, mid-term, which renting to nurses or corporate housing, and we also wanted to make sure we could rent this property for the long term, right? So we checked off all those 3 boxes. We verified we can rent this property short term, mid term, long term, and then we also mentioned verified that there's a high demand for nurses to rent this property. So we wanted to verify, we can cash flow this property, and even if there's changes in short-term rental laws or something like that, we wanted to make sure it wasn't going to affect this investment for us. Most people are concerned about inflation, as you should be. As I've written about in my previous books, the government doesn't report the real inflation rate to us. They reduce the inflation rate just because they can't afford to adjust pensions and Social Security to the real inflation rate, so they constantly manipulate the inflation rate to look lower. So we're definitely concerned about inflation. And again, I would encourage you guys, get some real estate under your belt in the next 6 to 24 months, because I think that real estate prices will be pushed even way higher in the future when the interest rate, Federal Reserve puts down the interest rate. So inflation is great if you own real estate. If you happen to be renting real estate, inflation is very bad because those rents go up. We wanted to not only fix the payment, collect rents, avoid taxes, but we also want to be able to reduce the payments on this property in the future. We also factored that in before we purchased this property. Now, this property is 1 unit downstairs. We can rent that downstairs for between $2,000, maybe even $3,000 a month if we go short-term rentals. But it looks like we already have that rented. So we put $3,000 or 3% down, which is $12,000 to get hold of this property. We'll have a $3,000 mortgage payment, And of course, we can rent the downstairs for $2,000 a month. So a huge factor for us. It's called house hacking when you buy one and then rent it. Or now we can obviously rent the upstairs for another $2,500 and be paying $3,000 in mortgage and collecting rents of $4,500 a month, even if we do it for long-term rentals. Now, specifically, we'll talk about short-term rentals and some tax codes that we're going to use for legal tax avoidance, right? So anyway, so we want to be able to rent that top one, the bottom one. We're going to be living in this unit for a while until we buy another property. Of course, when you buy that property, we love buy, borrow, die, which is the strategy we teach in the Perfect Portfolio, which means don't put a lot of money into your real estate. Put as little as possible, borrow most of it, because borrowing is tax-free and working hard for your money is highly taxed and highly penalized. Where just signing a mortgage document, we didn't have to work for it, we didn't have to pay taxes, and more importantly, we didn't have to earn that money over time and fight inflation with it. So we put 3% down, again, $3,000 a month mortgage payment for both units. Next, of course, we have a couple things that are going to happen in the future we're looking at. We're factoring in an election year. That means the government's going to encourage the Federal Reserve to reduce interest rates to stimulate the economy. If you're a real estate investor, that's great news, because when they push down interest rates, the property values are probably going to get pushed up, and we obviously want to see the value of this property get pushed up in the future as much as possible. And more importantly, if the Federal Reserve reduces the interest rates, that means we can refinance this property in the future and get rid of the payments. I'd like to have this property having a mortgage payment of $2,000 a month instead of $3,000 a month, right? Because if we can rent it for $4,500 and pay $2,000 on a mortgage in the future, that's an ideal situation and such a great opportunity as an investment property. So there's something you probably are not familiar with, but it was a factor that we obviously did not ignore when we purchased this property. In fact, it's one of the main reasons we did purchase this property is because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. This Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is it was the ability to bonus or accelerate the depreciation on the rental properties, right? And of course, there's ability to accelerate or bring forward that depreciation to the first year. It's 80% in 2023. It's only 60% in 2024. Because we closed on this property December 29th and took possession of the property, we're able to accelerate a huge amount of that depreciation forward, which can allow us to not pay very little in taxes on all the rents we receive from this property. So our mortgage payment, a lot of it will be deductible for us, and the rents coming in will be very much tax-free. One more thing we're going to talk about is a completely separate video, of course, topic of the short-term rentals loophole is what it's being called. And you can do your own research or Google it. But if we rent this downstairs property on Airbnb, we can basically do it for over 100 hours this year, and that means they can actually reduce our active income. So not only can we get away from California and get away from state income taxes, but we can actually use Airbnb, rent it, short-term rentals loophole, and actually you can wipe out our taxes on our W-2, dividend income, and all forms of income. Of course, we have one plan with this property. Like everything we do, we want to increase the value of it, rent it. As the value goes up, we're not going to sell it. We'll eventually borrow from that and purchase more real estate. All right, and that's the strategy we teach called buy, borrow, die. We show you how to do it in brokerage accounts, real estate, life insurance, because that's how people get wealthy, buying assets, borrowing from them, and then never selling them until they die. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it, because I like to raise people's financial IQ. I didn't want to give you guys hypotheticals of something people were doing. I wanted to give you a real situation right now that my wife and I are using to acquire some real estate, avoid taxes, build more passive income streams. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. So I hope this video helps you guys. Our next overview for the Perfect Portfolio is on January 24th. So if you're like, man, I want to learn this class, I want to learn all these cool tax codes, and I want to learn how to find properties like this, myself and Stella and I are moving to Tennessee so we can help our students find some great real estate deals. I guess hopefully you're having a great 2024. We're very excited about acquiring a bunch of real estate, and you should be doing that too. So I guess have a great one. And if you like this video, be sure to like, follow, and share.